I checked into a small hotel, exhausted from a long day of meetings and travel. The place was quiet, and there were only a few guests staying that night. As I settled into my room, I noticed that the walls were quite thin, and I could hear the faint murmur of voices from the neighboring room. The next morning, as I stepped out to grab some breakfast, I bumped into my next-door neighbor. He greeted me with a forced smile, and I returned the gesture, thinking nothing of it. But there was something peculiar about him. His eyes seemed to linger on me for a bit too long, making me feel uncomfortable. Throughout the day, I encountered the neighbor several times in the hotel's common areas. Each time he would greet me with that same unsettling smile, and I couldn't shake the feeling that he was watching me. As the evening approached, I returned to my room after dinner, looking forward to a relaxing shower before bed. But as I was about to step into the bathroom, I heard a soft knock on the door. Startled, I called out, "Who's there?" To my surprise, it was the neighbor again. "Hey, it's me," he said, his voice unnaturally cheerful. "I just wanted to say hello. Mind if I come in?" I hesitated, feeling a knot in my stomach. Something about his request didn't sit right with me. "Sorry, I'm about to take a shower," I replied, hoping he would take the hint and leave. But instead of leaving, he persisted. "Oh, that's okay, I can wait," he said almost eagerly. Unease washed over me, and I knew I couldn't let this man into my room. "No, really, it's not a good time," I insisted, trying to sound firm. His smile wavered for a moment, and he seemed to hesitate before finally saying, "All right, maybe some other time then." With that, he walked away, but I could feel his eyes on me as I closed the door. My heart was pounding in my chest, and I quickly locked the door and went into the bathroom to take my shower. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Why would he want to enter my room while I was in the shower? As I stepped out of the bathroom, my heart nearly stopped. The neighbor was standing right outside my door, staring at me through the peephole. Our eyes met and a chill ran down my spine. Without thinking, I shouted, "What are you doing? Leave now!" My voice must have startled him as he quickly turned and walked away. I immediately grabbed my phone and dialed the front desk, explaining what had just happened. The receptionist assured me that they would send someone to investigate. Minutes later, hotel security arrived and searched for the man, but he was nowhere to be found. They assured me that they would keep an eye out for him and asked if I wanted to switch rooms for the night. Fearful of encountering him again, I agreed to change rooms. But the incident left me shaken and on edge for the rest of my stay. To this day, I can't forget the bizarre encounter with the neighbor at that small hotel. I often wonder what his intentions were and why he had tried to enter my room while I was vulnerable in the shower. Alright, let me tell you the full story of that chilling night. As a security guard at the hotel, I had grown accustomed to the usual routines and occasional disturbances. But that night was different. It was a particularly quiet evening, with only a few guests occupying the rooms. Around midnight, the phone at the front desk rang. I picked it up, expecting a guest inquiry, but instead I was greeted by an eerie silence. "Hello? Is there anyone on the line?" I asked, my voice echoing through the empty lobby. But there was no response, just the faint sound of breathing on the other end. Feeling uneasy, I was about to hang up when I heard a weak voice trying to speak. "Help! Strange noises. Room 314, the voice said, barely audible. Panic crept into my chest as I tried to get more information from the caller, but all I heard was static before the line went dead. A sense of urgency compelled me to investigate. Room 314 was located on the 4th floor, a floor that was supposed to be vacant that night. As I climbed the stairs, my footsteps echoed through the dimly lit hallway, making the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. When I reached room 314, I hesitated before knocking on the door. "Hotel security," I called out, hoping for a response, but the silence was deafening. I decided to unlock the door with my master key, carefully pushing it open. The room was dimly illuminated by a faint glow coming from the outside streetlights. At first glance, it appeared empty, and the strange noises I had heard on the phone seemed to have ceased. I cautiously stepped inside, my flashlight casting eerie shadows on the walls. I made my way to the far end of the room, checking the closets and under the bed, but found nothing out of the ordinary. As I turned to leave, I noticed a faint rustling sound coming from the bathroom. My heart raced and I approached the door with trepidation. With a deep breath, I pushed the bathroom door open only to find it empty. The noise seemed to be coming from the vent, perhaps caused by the wind outside. I sighed with relief, thinking that my imagination had gotten the better of me. But just as I was about to leave the room, I caught a glimpse of movement out of the corner of my eye. In the dim light, I saw a figure darting past the window. My heart pounded in my chest and a shiver ran down my spine. I rushed to the window and looked outside, but there was no one in sight. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. It was then that I noticed two men standing in the darkened seating area on the other side of the street. They were wearing dark clothes and seemed to be staring directly at the hotel. Fear gripped me and I quickly stepped back from the window. I felt a sense of impending danger, as if those men were waiting for something. My instincts told me to leave, to get out of that room as quickly as possible. I closed the door behind me and locked it securely. My heart was pounding, and I hurried down the stairs to the front desk. I called my supervisor and the police, informing them about the strange call and the men outside the hotel. As I waited for help to arrive, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that those men knew I had discovered them. The minutes dragged on like hours, and I felt like a sitting duck, vulnerable and exposed. Finally, the police arrived, and they quickly searched the area, but the two men were gone. They assured me that they would patrol the vicinity for the rest of the night and urged me to stay vigilant. I was relieved when morning came, and the daylight brought a sense of safety, but the mystery remained. Who was the mysterious caller? Were those men outside the hotel connected to the call? I reported the incident to my superiors, but despite their efforts, the identity of the caller and the intentions of those men remained unknown. The incident left me shaken, and I couldn't help but feel that I had stumbled upon something sinister that night. It was during one of our road trips, and my partner and I decided to stay at a quaint little hotel that we had visited before. We had always enjoyed our time there, but this stay turned into a horrifying experience we could never have imagined. As we checked in, everything seemed normal. The hotel staff greeted us warmly, and we settled into our room with a sense of comfort. However, as we were heading to our room, we encountered a man in the hallway who introduced himself with an unnaturally friendly demeanor. There was something about his demeanor that made my skin crawl, but we dismissed it as mere nerves from traveling. Later that evening, we met up with a friend who had also stayed at the same hotel before. Our friend seemed disturbed when we mentioned the strange encounter, and they hesitated before divulging the unsettling truth. The man we had encountered was known to be off his medication at times, leading to erratic and inappropriate behavior with guests. Our unease grew, but we decided to be cautious and hoped for the best. Night fell, and we were ready to settle in for some much-needed rest. However, as we lay in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Every creak and rustle made me jump, and my partner tried to comfort me, thinking I was just being paranoid. But then it happened. In the darkness of the night, I woke up to a faint noise, and as my eyes adjusted, I saw a haunting sight. There, standing in the shadows of our hotel room, was the same man we had encountered earlier, and he was holding a power drill in his hand. My heart pounded in my chest as fear gripped me. My partner was still asleep, and I didn't want to make any sudden movements that might agitate the intruder. His eyes were vacant, almost like he was in a trance, and it was clear that he was not in his right mind. My mind raced, trying to figure out what to do. My phone was on the nightstand, but I was afraid to reach for it. I could only hope that he wouldn't notice us and leave without incident. But my hopes were dashed when he started to move towards the bed. Panic surged through me, and I gently nudged my partner awake, trying to indicate the danger without alerting the intruder. My partner's eyes widened in fear as they saw the man standing there, and we both knew we had to act quickly. In a whispered voice, I urged my partner to call for help while I kept a watchful eye on the intruder. We didn't want to provoke him further, but we needed assistance. With bated breath, we silently dialed the hotel's front desk, praying that someone would answer. Thankfully, someone did answer, and we informed them of the intruder in our room. They assured us that hotel security was on their way, but the minutes felt like hours as we waited for help to arrive. The man seemed lost in his delusions, unaware of our presence or the danger he posed. Finally, the sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway, and the door opened to reveal hotel security. They confronted the man, who seemed bewildered and disoriented. It was clear that he needed medical attention, but it was a terrifying situation to be in. As security escorted the man out of the room, we were left in shock and disbelief. We couldn't believe what had just happened. How could such a frightening incident occur in a place where we had felt safe before? The hotel staff apologized profusely for the incident, explaining that they were aware of the man's condition and had tried to keep an eye on him. But sometimes things slip through the cracks, and we were the unfortunate witnesses to that reality. We spent the rest of the night in a haze of fear and anxiety, unable to sleep as we processed the traumatic experience. Our road trip, which was supposed to be filled with adventure and fun, was forever marred by the terrifying encounter at that small hotel. The next morning, we packed our bags and checked out, eager to put the nightmare behind us. We reported the incident to the authorities, hoping that the man would receive the help he needed, but the questions lingered. Why had this happened to us? What if we hadn't woken up in time?